Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Samach Zayin Amud Aleph at the new Mishnah. After a lengthy parak of discussing various things a person may or may not go out with on Shabbos, our Mishnah concludes the parak with various items that have healing properties but are unconventional. Says the Mishnah, Yoitzim bebeitzas hat chargol. A person may go out with a locust's egg. The Gemara will explain what that is for, what that heals. Ubeshein shu'al, and with the tooth of a fox. Uvemasmar min hatzoluv, and with the nail of one next to one who was the gall of one who was hung. Mishum refuah divrei Meir. All of these things, Rav Meir says, have the properties of refuah, and therefore one can go out with them on Shabbos and not considered to be a burden, a must, but rather a tachshit, similar to what we saw until now by an amulet, by a kameya. V'chachamim oisrim. However, the chachamim say it's prohibited, not only on Shabbos, af bechol, even during the week. Mishum darkei ha'emori. Because the Pasuk says, lo seilechu, the Torah tells us, do not go in their statutes. And therefore it's prohibited to be like them and follow their ways and go and do their acts. Says the Gemara, Yoitzim bebeitzas hachargol da'avdei l'shichlo. When a person has an earache, so he can hang the beitza, the egg of a chargol, of a locust, and that provides a certain remedy. Ubeshein shel shual, the Mishnah says he can go out even on Shabbos with a tooth of a fox. Explains the Gemara, the avdi l'shinos l'shenta. It comes to help a person who has sleeping disorders. The chaya lemandenayim. You take a living fox's tooth, that helps a person who often falls asleep and cannot stay awake. On the other hand, the mesa leman deloinaim. You take a dead fox's tooth in order to then help a person fall asleep who cannot normally sleep. The Mishnah continues, uvemasmer min hatzaluv, the nail of a gallows where somebody was hung. Da'avde lezirfa, when a person has a wound that is swelling up, by putting a masmer, a nail alongside this wound, will cause it to then be depressed and help the wound heal. All of these things, according to Rav Meir, you can go out with on Shabbos because they're deemed to be a refuah. Mishum refuah div Rabbi Meir. Abai ve'Rava da'amrei travaya. Both Abai and Rava said, Kol davar sheyesh bo mishum refuah, ein bo mishum darkei ha'emori. Anything that is considered to be a refuah is not part and parcel of chukoseim lo seilechu, in going the ways of the Amorim, of the Amorite. Ha, behold, ein boy mishum refuah. However, it follows that if it's not going to be considered to be a refuah, yesh boy mishum darkei ha'emori, then the diuk is, then it would be darkei ha'emori. And that's a question asked the Gemara. If that's so, then v'hatanya, it says in the Brisa the following: Ilon shemeishir peirosav, if a tree is letting its fruit fall off prematurely, showing that there's something wrong with the tree, soikro besikro, then the procedure is to then put red ink on the tree, v'toyano ba'avonim, and load it down with stones. The Gemara explains, it's very well to say that you load it down with stones, because of its strength, which is causing the fruit to then fall off the tree. Therefore, by putting stones and weighing it down, it will cause the tree to become weakened and will not then cause its fruit to then come off unnecessarily. So that's understood. Ella soikroi besikro my refuah kavid. But by making red marks onto the tree, what is that going to be a refuah? And yet, you're saying over here that if it's not for a refuah, then it's going to be darkei ha'emori. So how can it be permitted to do that? Answers the Gemara, Ki heichi de lechazia inshi v'liboy alei rachami. The purpose of putting red paint on the tree is in order to then awaken other people and elicit them so that they shall then daven for the welfare of the tree. Kedetani, like it says in the Brisa, v'tamei yikra. When the Metzora has tzaras, he's to call out tamei. Not only tamei that he is tamei, therefore people should stay away from becoming tamei, but also an additional tamei in order to then elicit a response as follows. Tzarich lahodia tzaro l'rabim. He needs to let other people know of his distress. V'ravim yibakshu alav rachamim, and therefore others will then pray on his behalf. So too over here, when it comes to the tree, the red is not in order to then go like the ways of the Amorites. Rather, in order to elicit and awaken people to daven for the welfare of the tree. Ravina said, Keman talina koivse bedikla. Like, who is the one who weighs down a cluster of dates on a date tree? Ki hai tana, like this tana, to show that the date tree who is ill, he's putting an extra cluster in order to then show that there's something wrong with the tree, in order to elicit a response of bakashas rachamim on behalf of the tree. So this is this tana that we just referred to before. Says the Gemara weiter, Tani tana beperek emoroi kamei de Reb Chia bar Avin. There was a perek that's discussing the Amorites' practices in front of Rabbi Chia bar Avin. Or Marley, Rabbi Chia bar Avin said to this one who was teaching him this perek, Kulu isbuhu mishum darkei ha'emori levar mehani. All of these practices are the ways of the Amorites, with the exception of two, and therefore make it clear that all of these things are wrong. What are these two exceptions? As follows: Mishesh lo etzem begroinoi, somebody who has he swallowed a bone in his throat. Maybe me'oisei hamim, bring from the same type of bone, umeiniach le al kad kadoi, and place it on his head, on his skull. V'lei mahachi, and say the following lachash: chad nochis bola, one at a time it should go down and be swallowed. Bola nochis chad, it should be swallowed and go down one at a time. Ein bo mishum darkei ha'emori, this is not darkei ha'emori. This is considered to be a rufuah that's tried and proven. Le'adra, when a person has a fish bone that is stuck in his throat, le'mahachi, you should say the following: Nin'atzta kemachat, you've been stuck like a needle. Nin'alta kitris, you're closed like the trees. Shia, go down. Those are two tried and proven remedies that are acceptable and not considered to be the darkei ha'emori. The Gemara on Samach Zayin Amud Beis continues, Ha'omer Gad Godi, somebody who says that may my mazel be strengthened, that I should have good luck. V'sonuk lo ishkevei uvushke, and it should not become tired, not during the day and not during the night. Yesh boy mishum darkei ha'emori. This is the ways of the Amorites. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, not only is it the way of the Amorites, is worse than that. God eino ela lashon avodah zarah. When a person says God Godi, he's actually referring to the avodah zarah. Shenemar, as it states, ha'orachim legad shulchan. The Navi tightens against those who are oiv the avodah zarah in Klal Yisrael, as those who are being orachim. They're getting ready and preparing for their table for the deity of God, of the avodah zarah of God, and therefore it's even worse. Not only is it not the darkei ha'emori, it's actually considered to be a form of avodah zarah, mentioning avodah zarah, which we're not allowed to do so, as the pasuk says, "Es Elohe acherim loi sazkiru. Don't mention the names of the other gods, meaning the false gods. Hu bishma, the Brisa continues, Hu bishma v'hi bishmoi. In the middle of the night, he calls her, his wife, by his name, and she calls him by his name. She calls him by her name, rather. Each one calls the other one by the other one's name. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. Dunu. This is in order to then combat some sort of shade or demon. Dunu dani yesh bo mishum darkei amori. When a person has strengthened my barrel, that is also a form of the darkei amori. Rabbi Yehuda oimer ein don el lashon avodah zara. It's actually a form of mentioning avodah zara. As he brings a pasuk she'emar hanishboim be'ashmas shoimroin, those who swear at the wickedness of the shoimroin, va'omru chei Elohecha don, and they say by the light, they swear by the life of your God don. So don is a reference to an avodah zara. Ha'omer la'orev, one who says to the raven tzrach, scream out, ula oravta, and to the female raven, shriki v'hichziri li biznavecha letoiva, and return to me your tail for my good fortune. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. This is considered to be darkei amori, what they used to do. The Brisa continues, ha'omer shachtoi tarnegol ze shekara oivis, one who says slaughter the rooster, this rooster that is calling out like a raven, v'tarnegoyle shekara gavris, and the hen that calls out like a rooster. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. The Brisa continues, eshte va'aisir. I shall drink and a little bit should be left over. I should drink and should be left over. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. That's the practice of the Amorites. Hamevakaz beitzim b'koisa, one who smashes the egg against the wall b'fnei ha'efroichim, in front of the fledglings. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. V'hamegis b'fnei ha'efroichim, one who stirs, I think it refers to stirring the eggs in front of the fledglings, trying to then elicit that should be a greater strength to the efrochim. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. Hamrakedes v'hamoy neshivim ve'echad efrochim b'shir shelo yamusu, one who dances and counts 71 efrochim so that they should not die. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. In regards to somebody who is cooking, there's other practices of Amorites which is considered to be prohibited. Hamarakedes lekutach, a woman who dances in front of the kutach dish that she is making, in order that it should be considered to be very good. This is considered to be a nechush, to strengthen this kutash. If there are people around, she silences them in front of the adoshim again to try to strengthen the kedera that she's trying to cook of lentils. Legrisin, and one who screams to the beans. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. All this is considered to be darkei amori, the Amorite practices, which is prohibited. The Brisa continues, hamashtenes b'fnei kiderasa. If the woman who is cooking, she urinates in front of her kedera, in front of the pot that she's cooking with, b'shir shetizbasho meir, so they should cook more quickly. Yesh bo mishum darkei amori. Aval, but it says, noistin kisem shel tus. A person can put the pieces of wood of the tus, of some sort of berry, the shivrei zechuchis, and the pieces of glass b'kedera in the pot that she's cooking, b'shir tizbashvel mehera, that can be done. However, v'chacham oisrin, they said it's prohibited b'shivrei zechuchis. It's permissible, the parts, the pieces of the tooth, to make the pot cook faster, but not the shivrei zechuchis, because mibnei hasakana, that can be endangering a person's life by putting small pieces of glass. Now the Gemara brings a brisa, Tanu Rabbanon, Noisnin bul shel melach, a person can put a fistful of salt, l'toich haner, inside of the candle, the ner, v'shir shetoy v'tali, so it should then burn better and more bright. V'noisnin tit v'charasis, and they can put mud and clay, tachas haner, underneath the ner, b'shir tamtin v'tali, so it should burn more slowly. Omarar Zutro, hai man de michse shraga de mishcha. Rav Zutra says if somebody covers an oil lamp, umegali nafta, or reveals the neft lamp, ka'ovar mishum bal tashchis, he's causing them to burn much quicker than necessary. And therefore that's going to be considered to be over bal tashchis. He's taking something and he's ruining it. Chamro v'chaya lefum rabbonon ein boy mishum darkeim. If a person drinks, the brisa now continues and says when it comes to the drinking l'chayim, he says v'chaye, life to the mouths of the chachamim, of the rabbonon. It's not considered the darkei amori. In fact, we have a maisa that also supports this, as the brisa concluding our parak, maisa b'Rabbi Akiva. She'asa mishnu levnoi, he made a great party for his son. V'al kol kois v'kois, shevi omar chamra v'chay lepum rabbonim. On every cup that he drank l'chayim. This wine should be to the life in the mouths of the chachamim. V'chay v'cham lepum rabbonim lepum talmidein. Life is this wine for those who are drinking from the mouths of the chachamim and their students. Hadron aloch b'meh isha.